Hello, everyone. We are just setting up our live stream so that our Facebook and our LinkedIn personnel can hear what we're saying on our Strategy Ignite session today. So welcome again to Spotlight on Strategy. This is Dr. Ron DeFaro, the success strategist, CEO of Global Innovation Strategies, bringing to you today a spark in innovation to help you take your organization and your team to the next level. Thanks to all those who joined on the line. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat and any topics that you want to bring to us, and I'll respond live as fast as I can to those on the line. To those on the live stream, please feel free to post your questions into Facebook and or LinkedIn. If we don't have a chance to get them live today, I will insert them into our next session that will be held in early August. Again, this is Spotlight on Strategy, our Strategy Ignite session. I'm so glad that you're here. Today, we're going to, again, bolster the conversation that we had around clarity, alignment, and performance, touching upon the power of idea management and what that does by harnessing all the phenomenal talent and intelligence and intellectual capital that you have existing today in your partner base, in your client base, in your organization, your teams, and even yourself. So we're going to talk about a five-pronged approach. We call it the 5 secrets to help you and your organization thrive using strategy as the basis. And the 4 main elements you see before you on the screen: discovery, illumination, alignment, and action, all leading into performance. And you might ask, how does this help me drive greater clarity? So our first 2 areas that we're going to discuss today in this discovery and illumination area builds on what we talked about last time under the auspices of idea management. What we want you to do as a team, as an executive team, as a work team, as a customer and client team, as a partner team, is understand where you might be facing the greatest challenges, issues, or what you would think of as a problem. We also want you to be thinking about where is the greatest unmet need that exists, that someone has voiced, either your clients have voiced, your partners have voiced, internal discussions have noted that this is an opportunity space. And then we want to do a little correlation exercise where we examine what we say is a problem and a challenge and an issue that we're either facing externally that exists within our client and customer ecosystem, or that exists internally. And we want to draw a correlation between what we've noted are unmet needs. So do we have a one-to-one correlation between everything we said is a challenge, issue, or a problem, and everything we stated is an unmet need? If not, if we cannot make, we will have a 1-to-n amount of relationships between these 2, the unmet needs and the identified problems, challenges, and issues that we raise. And we may find that there is no direct correlation. So what do both of these offer you as an executive team, you as a leader, you as someone trying to spark innovation and harness idea management at the next level, is it gives you a chance to go through discovery with regard to what is truly going on there, right? So the first thing we typically want to do is a little bit of a trend analysis. We want to look at what is the commonalities between what we're seeing across that challenge, issue, and problem space, and what we said is an unmet need. And so an unmet need may just means the client, the partner, or internally hasn't matured to the point where they can accept an innovation at the highest form we could potentially deliver for them. So if we walked that back a little bit and we said, how could we make one chess move that would allow them to, we put it into a crawl, walk, run, fly scenario, right? We can't go from 0 to 100. We can't go from crawling to flying in one chess move, in one strategic move, in one operational undertaking. We have to move them in a phased manner so that we, don't completely disrupt the organization or our relationships with our clients and our customers, and we don't build resistance at such a high level so that we cannot move forward with the rest of the program maturity. So we want to lay out a 0 to 100 after looking at the commonality of the problems, challenges, and issues. And then the unmet need. So that's the envisioning part and a little bit of the exploration. If we're not finding a direct correlation, that's when we have a little bit more exploration and ideation activities that we can undertake, right? How could we look at this population of things that are occurring, which we think on its surface is a problem, issue, or challenge, or an unmet need? How could we bucketize them or affinitize them so that we can come to some common root cause? They're not all going to be the same, right? One might be 10% has that root cause, another maybe 20%, another maybe 40%. But when we can do that, we can then understand how we can prioritize a single strategic move or an operational move that will allow us to alleviate the majority of those problems, issues, and challenges and build value at the same time, right? So a little bit of upfront collection, a little bit of upfront analysis to get the commonality, a little bit of further analysis to understand what is the unique aspect that we haven't addressed. And then we go into a little bit more root cause analysis, right? At its highest level, when we look at root cause analysis, we're going to bucketize. Is it due to technology? Is it due to process? Is it due to people? And when I mean, is it due to, is there causal analysis, i.e., we can't scale because we don't have the right infrastructure pieces? Can we not scale because we're not controlling our processes, or we don't have the level of maturity we need, and we don't have the level of skill or maturity in our people and our leaders to be able to move us through that, right? We also have to look at, in causal analysis, how mature are we at harnessing data for our decisioning, right? We can envision, we can explore, we can ideate, we can say we're going to innovate, but until we get really great at collecting, analyzing, harnessing our data for decisioning, we're still going to be making a strategic move that's based on gut feel and a voice that's louder potentially than the others, right? Instead of being able to bring scenarios to the table that are evidentiary and data-based for decisioning for our internal teams, our clients, and our partners, we're still going to be somewhat going on gut and ability and capabilities to influence and get people behind something, right? In order to level the field so that you can get an idea that may come from a SME who doesn't have access to the executive suite, who doesn't have access to the board, who doesn't have access to the client base, and who may not have access to the partners, but you know that what they're talking about is right on. We need to be able to find a way to incorporate that data into our analysis or greater analysis to have that innovation be able to move forward. And we need to do that through bolstering our abilities to harness the data that exists in our organization and our ecosystem. Next is, once we found, again, as many root causes as we can, and we've applied a percentage or a weighting to the problems, challenges, issues we're facing, and we've looked at how if we remediated that, it could answer an unmet need or add more value. Then we use that idea of weighting, the idea of the bolstering data behind that, to prioritize the innovations and improvements that we're going to put forward. I know you might be saying easier said than done, but we don't have to boil the ocean, right? All we need is a construct: crawl, walk, run, fly, 0 to 100. All we're going to do is, we need to get from current state where we're at. We need the most expedient chess move we can make that will allow us to remediate the highest risk, the greatest number of problems, challenges, issues, and the greatest value. What's the one step we can take towards reaching our 0 to 100 outcome? What's the next percentage? So if we just look at them as a crawl is a 25% solution towards that. A walk is another 25%. A run is another 25%. And a fly is, maybe we're not there because we could only envision up to the point of our boundaries at that point. So maybe the 25% to fly is really it. But oftentimes what we see after we go through this crawl, walk, run scenario, and we're using data, is that now we can even see that there's a much higher set of outcomes that we're able to envision and ultimately achieve for our organization. So think of those as guideposts, that 25% incremental, if you will, with the 10x being the total outcome we want to achieve. How can we get 25% of that with one chess move? And that's the art and the science of strategy. The clarity, we're getting clarity on our biggest set of, again, problems, challenges, and issues. We're getting alignment. When we go to alignment, we're weighting them. We're root causing analysis. We're aligning them to the greatest opportunity gap that we have and the greatest value add that our clients and our partners and internal stakeholders have told us they are facing. And then we're going to put in place, we're going to overlay that analysis using our strategic framework to fund our innovations and our improvements in that very phased, mature manner. So that's the discovery and part of the illumination. The other part of illumination is, I said we can only mature as fast as we could harness and use the data. It's not to say that there is not a place for being able to marry up data with the gut feel, right? Because it's the inherent knowledge that your clients and customers and your executives and your team has about what feels right, what sounds right, what they're seeing in the ecosystem. Our current state data, right, is, if we think about that, unless we're doing very high volume, very real time intelligence gathering out in the ecosystem, consistent scanning, etc., it may be a little bit stale, i.e. it may be from a lagging perspective, not a leading perspective, right? So we need to meld the data that we've gathered and we've analyzed with what we see as far as trends, what we're seeing as far as intelligence, what we're reading about what's going on in our overall global ecosystem. That's from government, that's from commercial, that's from the nonprofits, that's from the what we see are industry aggregation, if you will, technology aggregation, if you will, right? So we meld those two. There's a place for data, and then there's a place for gut and what they're experiencing that the data may not have caught up with yet, right? And then we want to overlay that with what are some of the tools that we can use to marry those two up with stronger confidence of the outcomes we're ultimately attempting to achieve from our strategic framework and from our innovation portfolio as we're releasing either new and improved products, new and improved services, or focusing on enhancing our productivity, efficiency, effectiveness, and velocity within our own organization to be able to set a new baseline that allows us to scale from there. Strategy and this process that I'm taking you through is just as useful, just as meaningful to examine what's happening internal than it is what's happening external to your organization and those stakeholders across that entire spectrum. So illumination. In this age of AI, we really have very powerful tools at our fingertips to be able to use as sources and to use as the creation of scenarios, right? Typically, we had a dependency on certain roles within our organizations to help us do scenario analysis at an innovation, at a portfolio, at an organizational governance standpoint, as we look at compliance, as we look at finance, as we look at our current portfolio, as we look at profitability, as we look at industry trending, right? But now in the day and age of AI, we can open up the ability and capabilities of our executive teams and our other stakeholders, our teams, our individuals, and those stakeholders out in our ecosystem to be able to bring illuminations to us through harnessing these new AI tools. It could help us re-weight. It could help us reprioritize. It can help us understand a new trend or new intelligence that we missed in our data set, that we missed in our analysis, that we missed as part of that value add or opportunity gap. And that's the power of that, right? The scenario that we can ask AI to produce in different global, domestic industry settings, or I'll call it fit for purpose, more functional and mission-based scenarios, given where your organization is focused, the populations you are serving, the growth trends, either growing or constraining your industry scaling capabilities. So discovery, one, illumination, another. In illumination, again, we're going to be more focused on scenario analysis. We're going to be more focused on trying to understand either what we know we don't know or what we don't know we don't know, right? So that gray space there where we're needing to get more information from places that we haven't already gathered from. And AI is a phenomenal way of being able to pull from that body of knowledge, if you will, that body of experience in a way that we haven't had the opportunity to do before. Again, then we move towards more and stronger alignment, right? So we've gone through discovery, we've gone through illumination. Now we get to the point we've married data with this scenario analysis, and we're able to better now refresh what that means to our initial strategic framework. we're now able to refresh what our innovation portfolio or innovation roadmap looks like, and we're able to refresh from our near and mid and longer term OKRs and KPIs are. And we may need to refresh, especially if we're trying to scale at an exponential rate. If we're trying to go to 5x, 10x, 50x, 100x, right? It's likely that we're going to have to refresh our strategic framework we're operating from, maybe our mission and our vision. We're also likely going to have to refresh our performance management because the targets are now going to be too low. They're not going to have taken into consideration all the intelligence and new information that we're gleaning from the maturation and the data decisioning, data science area melded with this AI-enabled scenario analysis. So we're likely to have a little bit of organizational framework so that we can set our performance targets to that next highest layer. And then really we're off to the races, right? This is where data meets scenario, meets realignment of our framework and a resetting of our baseline targets, KPIs, metrics, measurements with the automation that's going to help us gather how we're doing against those new performance benchmarks, if you will. So that includes really re-looking at how are we leveraging automation? How are we leveraging AI, not only as an intelligence, but as an enabler for execution, higher levels of execution, right? Our discovery, analysis, and scenarios is probably going to tell us what we need to do from a movement to our crawl, walk, run, fly, from a funding, from a personnel resource, from a technology resource standpoint. But then we need the overlay of automation and AI to be able to help us actually execute at that highest level, right? We're going to be needing to do continuous discovery, continuous analysis, continuous scenarios so that your executive team, your partners, your customers and clients can understand that you have a pulse on where they're at, where you said you're going to help take them, or where you're going to take your organization in service of scaling for your customers and clients. And you're going to need to be able to make that visible so that people can pivot in more real time. I think what we're seeing is it's not enough to do this annually. It may not be enough to do this quarterly, that opportunities have a much shorter lead time, and that it's to our organizational benefit if we can harness the automation and harness the AI to be a first mover in some cases, and really embedding automation and embedding AI into the what and how and when we do business on a regular basis enables us to pivot and create and really harness the opportunity space to enable us to scale at that much higher level, thus enabling us to improve faster, thus enabling us to achieve the innovation outcomes on our roadmap better and faster at a higher quality and a higher service level that we would have done before. So again, discovery, illumination, alignment, action moves us into that higher level of performance, enables us to scale both from a quality, an excellence, a consistency, and while achieving our crawl, walk, run, fly outcomes with a stronger governance and a stronger compliance basis. Again, this has been a Spotlight on Strategy session. I hope that you have found this to be of value. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have a topic of interest that you'd like to see us take on in our next session that will happen in early August. You can reach us at CEO@GBLINNOV-STRAT-LLC.com. For now, this is Dr. Rhonda Farrell, the Success Strategist and CEO of Global Innovation Strategy, signing off for this session of Spotlight on Strategy. Till next time, we wish you a phenomenally strategic day, helping you to achieve greater outcomes and scaling to your next highest level of success.